Have you ever wondered why some people seem completely immune to the drama, the manipulation, the emotional attacks of others? It's not that they are cold or unfeeling. They have simply unlocked a code, a fundamental principle of human psychology that most people never discover. And in the next few minutes, I will reveal exactly how you can develop this same inner fortitude that will make you emotionally unbreakable. Imagine for a moment that you could navigate through life without being hurt by cutting remarks, without having your day ruined by someone else's toxic behavior, without constantly feeling the need to defend or explain yourself. Imagine being able to keep your inner peace completely intact, no matter what chaos others try to bring into your life. This isn't a fantasy. It is absolutely possible. And it all begins when you understand what the great thinkers of personal achievement like Napoleon Hill discovered about the human mind. Hill spoke of the power of our mental focus, but there's something even more profound here. When you become emotionally unshakable, you not only protect your inner peace, but you force the world to interact with you from a place of genuine respect. The first secret you must master is what Hill would recognize as the difference between a reactive mind and a purposeful response. Most people live on autopilot, in a state of constant reaction. Someone says something to them, and they immediately explode, defend, justify, or emotionally collapse. But when you react, you hand over your power. You give another person total control over your emotional state. How many times have you lost your peace because someone said something that bothered you? How many hours or days have you spent ruminating over an unpleasant conversation? Every time this happens, you are permitting someone else to control your inner energy. Hill understood that the mind is the seat of all power, and every impulsive reaction is a leak of your vital mental capital. But there is a powerful alternative: to respond from a place of conscious awareness. When someone tries to provoke you, instead of reacting automatically, you pause, you breathe, and you ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Does this person deserve access to my inner peace? In most cases, the answer is no. Here is a practical exercise that will transform your life. The next time someone tries to bait you with a negative comment, do not respond immediately. Mentally count to 5, and then ask yourself, what would reacting to this reveal about an unresolved fear within me? Often you will discover that the provocation says far more about the other person's insecurities than it does about you. Their need to bother you reveals their own frustrations and lack of purpose. Napoleon Hill had a powerful concept for this: personal initiative. You must take the initiative to control your own reactions. Nothing can take this power from you unless you surrender it. Repeat this phrase with me: I command my inner state. No one else has this power over me. When you internalize this simple declaration deeply, it becomes an invisible shield that protects you from external negativity. If this idea is already resonating with you, leave a comment with the word unbreakable, so I know you are ready for the next secrets that will change your life forever. And this leads us directly to the second fundamental secret: understanding what psychology calls psychological projections. This is one of the most powerful tools for becoming immune to the emotional attacks of others. When someone harshly criticizes you, insults you, or tries to make you feel bad, they're not really talking about you. They are projecting something from their own inner world onto you. Thinkers like Hill observe that people tend to see in others the very qualities they refuse to acknowledge in themselves. Think about it this way: when someone tells you that you are too sensitive, it's likely because they've repressed their own sensitivity. When they accuse you of being selfish, it's highly probable they are wrestling with their own guilt for not setting healthy boundaries. When they call you arrogant, they are likely projecting their own deep-seated insecurity. This understanding is liberating because you realize that most of the emotional attacks you receive have nothing to do with you. They are windows into the other person's inner world. It's as if they are projecting a movie of their own fears and insecurities, and you have simply become the screen. Here is a transformative exercise. The next time someone says something hurtful, instead of taking it personally, ask yourself, what is this person revealing about their definite chief aim or lack thereof with this comment? When you do this, something magical happens. You cease to be the victim of their words and become a conscious observer of their psychological process.
Napoleon Hill explained it clearly. You are the master of your destiny. You can influence, direct, and control your own environment. You can make your life what you want it to be. But this only works when you stop letting others' projections dictate your reality. When you understand this deeply, it becomes almost impossible for someone to hurt you with their words, because you know they aren't speaking about you. Have you noticed how the most critical people are often the most insecure? How those who judge the most are the most afraid of being judged? This is no coincidence. It is psychological projection in action. Practice this mantra. What others say about me is a broadcast of their inner world, not a reflection of mine. I know my truth, and that is enough. When you internalize this truth, you become practically immune to destructive criticism and toxic comments. But there is something even deeper we must explore. This is what Hill considered the key to true personal power. The third secret is what he called a definite chief aim, but I will explain it in a way you can immediately apply to your daily life. It's about developing what I call your unshakable core identity. Most people build their identity based on external approval. They feel good about themselves when others praise them and feel terrible about themselves when they are criticized. This is like building a house on sand. Any strong wind can knock it down. Hill understood that true emotional strength comes from knowing yourself so profoundly that you do not need external validation to know who you are. When you develop this unshakable core identity, the opinions of others become mere background noise. Have you noticed how the people who affect you the most emotionally are those whose approval you seek the most? Your boss, your partner, your parents, those friends whose opinions you highly value? This is no accident. Hill explained that we surrender our emotional power to those upon whom we are psychologically dependent. But here is the secret. You can love someone, respect them, and value their opinion without needing their approval to feel good about yourself. The difference is subtle but revolutionary. Imagine you are like a skyscraper. A mighty skyscraper has a deep foundation that goes down to the bedrock. It doesn't matter how strong the winds are on the surface, the structure remains firm, because its stability comes from within, not from without. This is what you must develop. An emotional foundation so deep that nothing external can destabilize you. Here is a powerful exercise to develop your unshakable core identity. Each morning, for 1 week, look at yourself in the mirror and say out loud 3 truths about yourself that do not depend on anyone else's opinion. For example, I am a person of action and decisiveness. I am someone who cultivates positive relationships. I am a person committed to continuous growth. Hill said that your definite chief aim is the starting point of all achievement, and this aim must come from within. And this process requires persistence because it means stopping the search for external approval and starting to trust your own inner compass. Do you know one of the clearest signs that you have developed your unshakable core identity? When you can receive both praise and criticism with the same inner calm. The praise doesn't inflate your ego because you don't depend on it, and the criticism doesn't destroy you because it doesn't define your worth. Repeat with me. My value as a person does not fluctuate with the opinions of others. I know who I am, and that is sufficient. When this phrase becomes a visceral truth in your life, You become emotionally invincible. And this connects us directly to the fourth secret, which is perhaps the most counterintuitive, but also one of the most powerful. The fourth secret to ensure nothing and no one can affect you ever again is to master what Jung called the personal shadow, but which Hill would relate to confronting the 6 basic fears. This sounds complex, but it's simpler than you think, and when you understand it, you become practically immune to emotional manipulation. Your shadow, or your core fears, the fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death, are all the parts of you that you dislike, try to hide, deny, or that shame you. Psychology discovered something revolutionary. People can only hurt you emotionally when they touch these unresolved parts of your shadow or trigger these deep-seated fears. For example, if someone tells you that you're a failure and it truly bothers you, it's very likely there is a part of you that fears failure, or that you haven't fully conquered the fear of poverty or criticism. But if someone told you that you're a purple elephant, you would probably laugh because you know it's not true. It doesn't touch any real insecurity. But the criticism touches something inside you.
Here is the key. When you make peace with all parts of yourself, including your perceived flaws, and by confronting and mastering the 6 basic fears, no one can use them against you. It's as if you have disarmed all the emotional bombs that others could activate. Hill's work constantly emphasized that these fears are the greatest obstacles to achievement, and mastering them is the path to power. This means your emotional strength doesn't come from pretending to be perfect, but from completely accepting who you are, including your less brilliant aspects, and courageously facing your fears. Have you noticed how there are certain criticisms that don't affect you at all, and others that devastate you? The ones that don't affect you touch upon areas where you have full self-acceptance. The ones that destroy you touch your unrecognized shadow or an unconquered fear. Here is a transformative exercise. Make a list of the 5 things that bother you most when others say them about you. Then for each one, ask yourself honestly, is there a grain of truth in this that connects to one of my basic fears? Which part of me is reacting so strongly because it fears this is true? This isn't about punishing yourself, but about recognizing these parts so they can no longer be used against you. For example, if it bothers you that people say you are not good enough, ask yourself, does the fear of criticism still have a hold on me? And if I accept that I am always improving, what power does that accusation truly have? When you can say, I am on my path, constantly growing, and that is enough, that criticism loses all its power over you. Hill had a perfect principle for this. Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. What you resist persists. What you accept and learn from transforms you. When you stop resisting the parts of you that you dislike and integrate them with compassion, you become whole. And a whole person is very difficult to hurt emotionally. Practice this mantra. I acknowledge all parts of myself, the strong and the fearful. I am a complete human being, and this gives me strength. When you can say this with total honesty, you become someone who is very difficult to manipulate or hurt emotionally. And now we arrive at the 5th and final secret, which is the most powerful of all and will truly make you emotionally invulnerable. The 5th secret is what both psychology and philosophy considered the foundation of all psychological strength, developing what I call emotional sovereignty. This means becoming the sole master of your internal emotional state, no matter what is happening around you. Emotional sovereignty does not mean you will not feel emotions. On the contrary, it means you will feel your own authentic emotions, not the ones others are trying to impose on you.
There is a huge difference between feeling sad because you lost something important to you and feeling sad because someone wants you to feel bad. Most people live in a state of emotional contagion. They automatically absorb the emotions of those around them. If someone arrives angry, they become tense. If someone is in a bad mood, their day is ruined. But when you develop emotional sovereignty, you become the thermostat of your own internal experience, not the thermometer that simply reflects the external environment. Have you ever been with someone who remains calm no matter how chaotic the environment? Have you noticed how their mere presence can calm a tense situation? That is emotional sovereignty in action, and you can develop it. The secret lies in understanding that your emotions are information, not commands. When you feel anger, sadness, or fear, these emotions are giving you data about your inner world or the situation. But you don't have to obey them blindly. You can feel the anger and choose to respond with calmness. You can feel fear and choose to act with courage. Here is the most powerful exercise for developing emotional sovereignty. For 1 full week, every time you feel a strong emotion, especially a negative one, pause and ask yourself, is this emotion truly mine, or am I absorbing it from someone else? Is it giving me useful information or just hijacking my peace? Then breathe deeply and consciously choose how you want to feel. The encounter with yourself is, first and foremost, the discovery of your power to choose your emotional response to any situation. When you have emotional sovereignty, something extraordinary happens. Toxic people lose interest in you. Manipulators get bored with you. Those who seek drama find nothing in your presence. It's as if you become emotionally uninteresting to problematic people, but incredibly attractive to emotionally mature individuals. Why? Because toxic people feed on emotional reactions. When you don't supply them, they lose their source of energy and go looking for someone else who will react. It's like being invisible to toxicity, but magnetic to emotional health. Repeat this powerful affirmation. I am the sole owner of my inner peace. No one can disrupt it without my conscious permission.
When this truth becomes part of your reality, you become practically invulnerable to the emotional attacks of others. Emotional sovereignty also means you stop needing others to change for you to be okay. You don't need your boss to become easygoing. You don't need your family to understand all your decisions. You don't need everyone to treat you with respect. Of course, it's better when these things happen, but your emotional well-being no longer depends on them. Imagine the freedom of being able to maintain your inner peace no matter how chaotic the people around you are. Imagine being able to go to that difficult family gathering, that tense work meeting, that complicated conversation, knowing you will emerge with your energy intact because you have sovereignty over your internal emotional world. If you have made it this far, it's because a deep part of you already knows you deserve this emotional strength. You already know you don't have to live at the mercy of other people's moods. You already understand that you can be compassionate and empathetic without absorbing the toxicity of others. These 5 secrets you have just learned, responding versus reacting, understanding projections, building an unshakable core, integrating your shadow and fears, and cultivating emotional sovereignty, are not just theoretical concepts. They are practical tools you can start applying immediately. The greatest minds in personal development spent their lives studying human potential and discovered that true strength doesn't come from avoiding difficulties, but from developing the internal capacity to navigate any emotional storm while keeping your center intact. You now have the map, you have the tools, you have the knowledge. But knowledge without action is merely intellectual entertainment. Real transformation begins when you decide to implement these secrets in your daily life. I challenge you to, for the next 7 days, consciously practice one of these secrets each day. Day 1, Practice responding instead of reacting. Day 2, observe the projections others place on you, and so on. By the end of the week, you will not be the same person. You will have taken the first steps toward emotional invincibility. If this information resonated with you, if you feel it is exactly what you needed to hear at this moment in your life, I want you to write in the comments, "I choose my sovereignty." Let me know that you are committed to this change, that you are ready to reclaim your emotional power. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, someone struggling with toxic people, emotional manipulation, or who simply wants to develop more inner fortitude, share this with them. Sometimes a single message can completely change the trajectory of someone's life. Don't forget to save this and follow, because every week I share tools like these that can transform your emotional life. I have many more secrets of profound psychology and personal achievement to share with you. Strategies that will help you not only protect yourself from toxicity, but to create more authentic and satisfying relationships. Remember, you were not born to be a victim of other people's emotions. You were born to be the architect of your own emotional experience. The power was always within you. You just needed the right tools to access it. I'll see you in the next piece, where you'll discover how to naturally attract people who respect your new emotional strength and create relationships based on mutual admiration instead of drama. Until then, practice these secrets and start experiencing what it feels like to be emotionally unbreakable.